When all hope is gone, how do you find it again? Hey guys, this is Andy. So good to see you all again. So glad that you're here. I want to jump right into it. The idea of hope and suffering. Now, many have been watching the news and many have been seeing what's been going on in America, and many have been obviously seeing what's been going on in your life. And it's been difficult, right? America is not in a good place. You've seen violence go up, right? Homicides go up. You've seen rioting, looting, depression, right? The COVID-19 pandemic, people are being closed indoors. And there's just so many things that are happening today in America. And so many things that you're probably going through as well, that where do we find hope when when all you see is despair around you? Right? It's kind of a weird tension, right? Because God says he's the God of hope, but I don't see any hope here, right? Where are you, God? I don't know what you're doing. And so we're going to read out of Romans chapter 5, verse 3 to 5. And there's a lot of verses about suffering and hope in the Bible, but I want to focus on this. And this is what he says. He says, we rejoice in our suffering. A very interesting thing, right? He's going to teach us how to rejoice during a suffering season, okay? And this is what he says. He said, suffering, knowing that suffering produces endurance. If you go to the gym and you start working out for the first time, right, it's actually very kind of discouraging because everyone's so fit, or not everyone, but there's a lot of people who are really fit in there. And then when you're starting out, you're not fit, right? You're not healthy. You're not strong. You can't run that well. You can't jump that high. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't lift that much, whatever it is. You're going to kind of be discouraged because everyone's sort of better than you in a way. However, a lot of these people who have been training for years and years and years and years, and you can see it when they exercise, right? When they go running or when they go hiking or whatever, I don't know, swimming, whatever it is that they do. If you ask them, a lot of them will tell you something like this. They'll say, even though it's hard to do the exercise, and even though there's times where I don't want to do it, I'm thinking about what I'm going to get after doing it, right? I'm thinking about the result. What I do this month is going to affect my health and my fitness for next month. So they're not just thinking about what's happening right now. They're not looking at the suffering right now, right? They're looking at what they're going to get out of the suffering, okay? And so here's one thing that Paul is saying. As suffering, right, is going up, as the time of difficulty and season and tribulations are going up, as that goes up, he's also saying your endurance is also going up, right? So he's saying focus on this. You're getting better at dealing with difficulty. You're getting tougher skin. You're going to be able to handle more as you go through this thing. So as suffering rises, he's also saying that's not the only thing that's going up. Your suffering is going up, but so is your endurance. So is your stamina. Your stamina is going up. Now look what he says here. He says, suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character. Now, as a Christian, and when we look at the world through the Christian lens, I'm always trying to become more like Jesus. That's the easiest way of saying to be holy, right? Or to be a moral person. You can always sum it all up and say, I'm just trying to be more like Jesus, right? So that means that Paul is saying right now that as your suffering is going up, right? You're not sure about your employment. You're not sure when you're going to go back to work. You've been furloughed. You're not sure about next month's rent. You've been trying to have a baby, but it's hard to have a baby. Your marriage life is on the rocks, all this stuff. And I thank you so much for your prayer requests from last week. You know, I'm praying for you guys still. You know, you have all these sort of difficulties, right? You have sick people at home that you're taking care of. You don't know what's going to happen to them. Cancer just popped up. Whatever it is, right? As your suffering is going up, Paul's saying you're actually going to grow in your endurance, your ability to deal with these difficult situations. And then also your character is also on the rise. So it's not just one thing. It's not just like suffering is going up. Oh my gosh, everything sucks. That's not what he's saying. He's saying suffering is going up, but you're becoming more durable in a way. And then you're also becoming somebody whose character is becoming more like Christ. And so let me give you an example of this. Whenever you see spoiled children, how many spoiled children do you know that have good character? How many spoiled children do you know have great endurance for suffering times, for difficult times? How many spoiled children, if you ask them, how many difficult seasons have you been through in your life? Right? You and I, though, God doesn't want to create spoiled kids, right? He actually wants you to go through these things so that you can grow and you can become more patient. You can become more kind. You can become more generous. You can become more humble. You can become wiser, right? You can become more like Jesus. And this is actually what's happening right now to you. Now, the final thing that Paul says is that character leads to hope, right? And now we've gotten to hope. There's two types of hope that we have living on earth. The first one is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. He says, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, or straw, each one's work will become manifest. For the day, capital D, will disclose it, the day of judgment, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work that anyone has built on the foundation, who is Christ, right, survives, he will receive a reward. There are rewards in heaven. Jesus himself says it in a different way. He says, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. So he doesn't say store up yourself for yourself, right? You and I will be in heaven, but he's saying there's a separate thing that we're going to receive in heaven, and these are rewards, these are treasures. We go on, he says, if anyone's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. So he's talking to Christians. Paul's talking to Christians right now, and he's saying that you're gonna be in heaven, you're gonna be in paradise, like the thief on the cross, right? He didn't have any. I can't imagine that he would have any rewards, right? Because he came to know Christ right before he died, right? But he's going to be in paradise. However, Jesus is saying that not only do I want you to be in paradise, but there are rewards that I'm going to give you guys for the good deeds that you do. Depending on what you do, I will reward you. So what is the hope that I have? Number one, think about this, okay? Think about this. Why does character lead to hope? If I have hope, if I have character, right? If I'm more patient, if I'm more generous, let's use the example of generosity, okay? When my character of being generous and having faith and trust in God goes up, then I'm going to give more, right? As I give more, I'm going to have greater hope in what I'm going to receive when I get to heaven. Does that make sense? Because I know that he's telling me, hey, if you do these good things, I'm actually going to reward you, right? You're not going to just be in heaven. That's huge that that your name is written in the book of life. However, there's also going to be things that I'm going to be giving you. As my character goes up, as I become more generous, what happens? I start doing generous things. Now, the last thing, and one of the most important things about hope, and we're going to close with this, 1 Peter 5:10 says, after you have suffered a little while, okay? So after you've gone through this pandemic, after you've gone through a difficult relational period, your marriage is on the rocks, your kids don't like you, you can't have kids, you're not sure why, you're not sure where you're going to pay rent, maybe you had to move out, whatever it is that you're going through, a loved one died and you're still mourning and you're weeping about it, whatever it is, after you've suffered a little while, you're going to suffer, okay? He says, the God of grace. Why does he say that? Because you probably committed a couple sins during the suffering. I'm so mad, I can't believe this, and you lose hope, you lose faith, whatever, you start doing making foolish decisions, kind of like Abraham, right? When he sort of lost hope about a son that he would have, and then he decided to sleep with someone else to have a son, right? There's plenty of examples that I can give you of past saints that have done bad things. I'm imagining that you probably have as well. And so he's saying, after you've suffered a little while, the God of grace, right, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, right, by Jesus Christ, by his blood, right, by his righteousness, will himself restore you, right? You will be restored one day. I know right now you feel broken, but you will be fixed. You will be restored one day. He will confirm you. He's going to confirm all the things that you've been trying to do, the character that has grown. You're doing good, but you're not seeing any fruit. He's going to confirm this. He's going to strengthen you, right? You're going to get stronger from this. You're not going to become weaker. You're not going to come out of this and have nothing to gain from it. That's not what's going to happen. You're going to be stronger for this. And he's going to establish you. He's going to establish more of what you're doing here, of who you are, your identity in Christ. You're going to be more grounded. You're going to be more focused on the purpose of your life. Your heart is going to be able to handle more difficult seasons in this life, so that you can actually reap more and you can become a more Christ-like person and be a better example, be a better evangelist, be a better minister, all these kinds of things. He's going to grow everything that's happening during this suffering. And so let me end it with this, okay? I started this video saying, where do you find hope when there's no hope, right? In other words, where do you find hope when there's only suffering? You find hope in the suffering. The hope is literally right in front of you. I know you're suffering right now, and I know it's hard. And I know at nights you're weeping, you're crying, it's hard. Your heart feels broken. You're uncertain about the future. You're doubting things. However, guess where the hope is? It's in that. Your hope is in the suffering, because the suffering will lead to endurance, and the suffering will lead to character, and the character is going to lead you to hope. And that hope is all wrapped up in God's grace for me, in who He is and who He wants me to be. And so through the suffering, you guys, Christ is making you more like Him. Through the suffering, He's growing you. He's making you a more beautiful human being, a more beautiful son and daughter of the living God. So I hope that helps you guys. God bless you so much. And as always, you can leave comments down below, prayer requests. Please like, share, subscribe to this video, to this channel, to help get the message out there. God bless you, and I will see you next week.